Hi, I'm Colleen.
And I'm Kate. Welcome to our CrafterNoon adventures. Our craft today is called Book Page Apple, where we'll be making an apple out of an entire book. So the first thing you're going to need is probably a very small paperback book. You can find one obviously that you're not using anymore, not reading. And the first thing you're going to need to do is pull off the cover. So I've already started pulling off the front, and then you'll flip it over and you're just going to pull off the back. Should come off pretty easily since it's a small paperback. So you can cut your front and back in half because we're going to need one side of it. You can choose either the front or the back, doesn't matter. So keep one side. And now you have what's called the text block of the book, which is just text. You want to keep that because that's what's going to make your rounded apple shape. But first we need a template for the apple. So that's where your front or back cover comes in. You're going to draw half of an apple shape. The shape really doesn't matter. You can choose whether you want a really tiny apple, whether you want a really round one, whether you want a skinny one. I'm just going to try to use most of the page up. And now you're gonna cut out your template. Okay, so next you want to bring your text block back in and have the spine where basically the center of the book is going to be, so that we're going to hot glue it later closed and the pages will fan out around it. So you want to put your text, your template I mean. I would do it at the bottom because you'll probably have an easier time with cutting all of this out. So you're going to trace around, oops, hold on to your apple here, trace around like this. And basically you're going to do this through the entire book. So you'll cut out this shape all the way to the end. It's quite a long process, but you can do it. So I've seen other people use X-Acto knives, but we don't have very sharp ones here, so we're going to use scissors today, and I found that they're a lot easier to use anyway. So what I do is I take about, I don't know how much is this, 10 pages, and if that's too much or your wrist gets tired, you could always make it smaller, a smaller amount to cut through. But then I just start cutting out around the shape we just made, and keep that template nearby because you're going to want to keep using it, because sometimes if you just try to go based off of this, it's going to shrink or it's going to move on you, and then you're not going to have a very even surface. And what you want to focus on is having a flat bottom so that the apple will actually stand on its own. You don't want it to fall over, because hopefully this will serve as a decorative piece in a classroom or in the home or wherever else you want to place your apple. So I usually cut, the top is the hardest part of course, and that's where maybe later an X-Acto knife could help you out. I just discard those pages, and then I take the template again and I go around yet again. Some people go from the middle of the book and they work out. I start from the very beginning because I found that easier. I've done this a few times before and it's just easier for me, but you'll find your preference if you do a bunch of these. And even if the outside shape is not exactly even, it's okay, because once you fan it out, you won't really notice that they're not exactly the same curvature, or that you have a little bit of an uneven look to it. Okay, and again, sometimes you can, depending on the book, it might be easy to rip out from the center with just your hands. You don't need to actually cut it. If you'd like, you can save one of the last pages, put it aside, and we can use it for a leaf. Back with my X-Acto. Be very careful, but you can do this sawing motion. With a little time and arm action, you should get all the way through. You can also try removing a little at a time, because it's difficult to cut through it all at once. Because we cut from the bottom, you should have a flat one. And then it's, like I said before, it's okay if they're a little bit different from each other, because once you have the apple wrapped all around itself, you won't even notice. So the next thing we're gonna do, you can choose your last page and cut out a leaf from it. So you can, again, this might be way too big. Let's see. So maybe a leaf shape about that big. You can always cut it down in size if you realize, yes, I have cut it too big. And then what I did, because we were just using what we had around, I found a craft stick and I just cut it down and I sanded the edges so that it didn't hurt anyone. Alrighty, so you've got your leaf, your stem, and a big mess. And the next thing we're gonna do is we could either do it two different ways, and I've done both, and I still don't know which one is easier, but we can glue the spine now. So we'd bend the spine about in half. So let me see if I can do that right now. This is not exactly half, but it's where the spine wants to break. So we'll try that. We'll see how well it sticks together. I would try to get it in the middle because each side needs to stick to itself. Or to each other. And then you can paint the pages, or you can hold them all together, paint the pages, and then undo it. Either way, your hands are probably going to get messy. I have some red acrylic paint here, a paintbrush and a palette, and hot glue as well. At this point, you're going to want to fan out your pages. And you'd think, because they were so flowy before, that they'd make their shape, but they don't. And I've done it a few times again, and they never seem to want to do that. And then you start shaping it. And by shaping, I mean pushing some pages to where they don't want to go, so you push them the opposite way, and that way they'll kind of start to stay and form a circle. Once you think it's okay, or as good as you're going to get it for the moment, you can start painting. And we'll add our stem and leaf last. So what I'm going to do is shake up my acrylic paint. Pour it into here. Dip my brush in and just go at it. You can hold on to the pages. I start at the top normally. Feel free to drop inside the pages a bit because it'll give it a nice extra red looking color if it's not just on the outside but also on the inside. You can also go all the way into the middle. You are going to need quite a bit of paint. And also be careful that you don't group the pages too close together, because the acrylic paint, as soon as it dries, and it dries very quickly, it'll get kind of sticky and the pages will start sticking together. So just try to be cognizant of that and separate the pages when you can. Once you feel that you've used all the paint you can on your apple, you put your brush down, paint away, and you're just going to need to add the stem and the leaf. And we still kept the hot glue gun on. And this is where we're going to attach the stem. So I put a lot of hot glue in the middle, and I just squish the stem in there and I hold it. And then check to make sure your leaf looks big enough. I think mine is probably okay. And you can attach it right on top of the leaf. You gotta choose whether you want to put it in the front or the back. And stick it right in there. Might need to go a little deeper. There you go. And then let it cool off, let it dry. And there is your book page apple.
We hope you enjoyed today's craft. Most projects we demonstrate can be made in under an hour and require a few basic tools or supplies.
Have questions or suggestions for future videos? Use the comment section below and we'll add it to our list. Thanks for watching, and remember the Makerspace mantra.
The only limit is your imagination.